the presentation mode and let me put another recording up. Okay, so we're back and it looks as if we had some technical difficulties, and sometimes it happens. Often it happens actually. And the reason is that sometimes the internet connection isn't good enough. Sometimes the hardware isn't fast enough. So there's sometimes some difficulties in getting over. The key I've found is to actually use the best technology that you can once you've tested a few. And actually the smartphones are the most reliable, believe it or not. More reliable than tablets, which can't be used, and more reliable than an old PC. But let me hear some answers. So how did you answer the question? Let me share the screen once again. And let's hear, what areas do you want to be reskilled in during 2020? And what impact could it have on your life? So let's see what you came up with. Psychology. Okay. Tony, give us a little more detail. When you say psychology, what do you mean? HR analytics, Simone says. I need to do some work on analytics as well, how to capture and measure them. Denise says building trust. And I imagine that has to do with building trust when people aren't in the same room, when they have to work remotely. Simone says understanding the business I'm in. So reskilling to get a deeper understanding quickly. Oh, lots of answers. Hang on. There's so many answers coming in. I'm not keeping up. Chrislyn says communication skills, and that's taken on a whole new dimension here in 2020. And someone who becomes an expert in communicating digitally is very different from someone who communicates excellently in person or from a platform or on the phone, all different skills. Communication skills, adjusting to working remotely, Trisha says. Carol says change management. Boy, this is like the biggest change management problem we've ever had. I thought 9/11 was bad. Not 9/11. Naz mentioned it. Y2K. I thought Y2K was bad, and that was a big change management problem because the whole world was switching over at the same time. That's nothing compared to this. You weren't at risk. You personally weren't at risk, and going to work wasn't a matter of putting your life on the line. Crafting of policy, Villimay says. Diana says spiritual development and holistic health and wellness, right? Finding a language for that when you have a diverse workforce, for example, where not everybody comes from the same spiritual tradition. Naz says handling grief. Boy, there are some people passing away right now, and you can't go to the funeral, you can't go and see the body. You have to grieve virtually. I haven't been to anything like that. I don't even know what that means, but I just know that people are doing it because they have to. Data analytics and policy deployment, getting to know the different meeting platforms and organizing training for my staff. And Julie says that's a deep one, Nazir. Yep. Major one, Nazir. Yeah. From Denise. Digital marketing. Yes, Renee. Thumbs up for that. I'm all in. Same challenge for me. Strategic planning to recalibrate. Research, grief on job loss. Oh yeah, so not just grief in person loss, but job loss of relationships, loss of income, loss of lifestyle. Simone, lots of loss. Branding, BHR branding. Branding and HR should be merged. We're actually going to talk about it as an area of focus here at Carib HR Forum in the next year, because how you present yourself is going to become a very, very big deal. Why? Because there's going to be some job loss. And as you exit the job loss, the question is, who are you in the world? And how do you present yourself? And traditionally, branding has had nothing to do with HR. But all of a sudden, a lot of us are going to have to rebrand ourselves, either to keep a job, find a job, or make the transition to maybe a different kind of work, freelance or consulting work. Knowledge management, keeping abreast and being able to inform staff, and teaching staff how to find the knowledge for themselves, because the days of holding on to knowledge, I think we'd all agree, those days are gone. There's way too much knowledge out there for anyone to think that they could be the holder of the knowledge. And Bridget disagrees. She says, depends on where you are, because branding has always been a part of HR. Which is actually true, right? It's just that we didn't quite acknowledge it that way, all of us, no? And Naz says, diet, exercise, emotional and mental health, purpose, financial counseling. Where's that counseling going to come from, I wonder? Are companies going to provide that counseling to their employees, or is everyone going to be left on their own? I know in the States right now, it's more a case of good luck, you're on your own. But lots of good answers. But let's move on in the few minutes that we have remaining. We've already passed that. So I want to tell you more about what's coming up for the rest of the year. A couple of quick notes. So coming up in the next few months, we have a couple of coaching circles that are starting. And the two areas that we've decided to start with are one that Tracy Wallace will be heading up. It's all around crafting a learning organization fit for COVID-19. So it's right in line with what we're talking about. How do you reskill the organization so that it gets to the level where it's a learning organization? So that when the next COVID-19 comes along, the organization is fit and able to learn itself through the challenge, which is what's not happening right now. That's the first. That's what she's going to be focusing on. So the way it's going to work for both of us is that we're going to have a webinar like this one, and then we're going to lead into 4 to 5 weeks of coaching a small group. And if you want to join, we'll let you know how you can apply to join. It's going to be small, intimate, and private. Away from no one outside of the group will even know who is in the group. And that's the first one that's going to be kicking off sometime next week, probably next week, Thursday, fingers crossed. And about a month after that, I'll be kicking off a similar effort. Again, a webinar followed by 4 to 6 weeks of small group coaching. It's going to be how to prepare for a freelance HR consulting career. And if you're on Carib HR Forum, you know we've been talking about that for a while. So those are the two that are definitely happening between now and the next 2-3 months. 6 weeks of webinar and small group coaching. And the two that we're thinking of considering bringing on after or while these are underway have to do with creative compensation. So I just heard of some doctors who are related to a friend of mine, and she said that they were told by their hospital that they need to accept a 30% cut in their salaries. And these are doctors who are on the front lines, and there's no choice in the matter. They have to take the cut. So how do you creatively, as an HR manager, come up with ways that compensate people going forward? Because the old methods probably won't be the ones that your CEO is interested in. He or she may be interested in doing some things, and you've got to find a way to implement them or be creative in having them be realized. And the second has to do with career retooling. For those of us who unfortunately will get some bad news and need to go and look for different kinds of employment, we may need to do a complete retooling. If we're an expert in one area, we need to find expertise in another. And if we had no expertise to even talk about, we now need to go find expertise. I see that there's suggestions. HR for small business sector, yep, is that area that very few have gone into. Most people think of HR belonging to major companies. So this is what's coming up. So if you're on our mailing list, you'll hear notice, but the big kahuna that we're really building up to is probably something that you've already heard us talk about before, which is a virtual conference coming up in September. So we're having a 3-day virtual conference, and what I've shared here are some conceptual save the date promo ads for us to share with each other. I haven't decided which ones to go with, but if you see which one do you like, the purple one, the white one, if you can just put it in the chat, let me know which one you like the best. Give us an idea. We'll share them out further in Carib HR Forum and decide which color scheme to go with. But that's really just the beginning. where we're really headed here is to the Full Bowl Conference, where we'll hopefully have somewhere between 30 to 40 speakers. And the website is already up. You can actually register. It'll be a very early registration. It's absolutely free. It'll be from September 17th to 19th. And the theme is right in line with what we've just talked about today, which is HR putting that mask on for itself with respect to reskilling, retooling, resetting, re-energizing, repurposing, sort of giving yourself the self-care and self-attention that's needed to deal with what's coming in the future. So you can click on this URL if you want and go there and visit after we're done. And finally, if you aren't a member of Carib HR Forum community, you can join. We have trial and full memberships, as you probably, if you've already heard that from me, I'm telling you again, trial memberships, both memberships are free, and membership is on our platform is always free. And just go ahead, and if you join in, you'll hear all of the updates, and you'll be you'll be able to join one of the coaching groups and participate in everything that we have between now and next year this time. So we're really excited about what can happen about our world of HR professionals in the next year. And if we spend a year retooling and repurposing and reskilling that, we come into next year completely differently. So that's it. It's almost to the end of the time that we have together. I'm looking at some of the comments. Tracy says that she's excited. Nice meeting. Nicole, looking forward to more. I can't keep up. Thank you, thanks. Great initiative. I hope I've given you sort of the notion that this is just the beginning, that we're asking this very big question. How do you do this in this environment? And that there are no real easy, short, quick answers. But if we work together, we'll get far better answers than if we try to do it on our lonesome. And we've got to connect using tools like this and do it more than just on a one-off basis. It's one thing to go to a webinar and, okay, that was really nice. But it's another thing to be a part of an online community for a year or 2 years. And there's some members of Carib HR Forum that have been with us from inception, from 2003, 17 years. And only recently has the technology been created that allows us to do the things that I'm showing you here on the screen and the things that we're doing here on this platform. These are brand new technologies that we've only started using in the last year. So this is all very new to us, believe it or not. We tried using other platforms, but these work the best. And thank you guys for showing up, and thank you for participating so heavily and heartily. There were so many comments. I actually didn't catch all of them because I'd be here simply reading all of them. But thanks so much. Make your way over. If you haven't joined us on Carib HR Forum, I'm going to flip back to conference mode, and you can say your goodbyes to anyone that you didn't meet or speak with there. But I'm going to turn off the recording, and thank you so much for being with us tonight.